Today again I am sharing a wonderful article that is on the United States-China hostile relationship and its fallout. And I think it is the biggest problem in the world because these are the global and the leading powers in terms of military technology and uh, other leading sources of the global power. So I recommend Express Tribune more than the Dawn and other newspaper because here the expression of the writing is particularly wonderful, despite the fact it has the data statistics analysis, but the sentence structure and expression of the articles I found and witnessed that Express Tribunes are uh, writers are wonderful. So I recommend Express Tribune more than the other domestic magazine. You can also read the international authors in their magazine like the Foreign Affairs and Economist and Diplomat in the New York Times. But as far the domestic magazines are concerned, or newspapers, so Express Tribune is the best. Okay, so started with the first sentence. Here we will be analyzing this article that what is the background of United-China rivalry and then its implication on the world and particularly on the Pakistan. So first of all, historical background is given. For the past 2 decades, the United States has been the global leading country with no challenger in sight. So after the fall of the Berlin Wall in Germany in 1989 and then the USSR in 1991, the United States became the sole global power with no challenger in sight. It was a leading light in the champion of the free world, forming policies independently and acting as a mediator among nations and situations so arose. Okay, its economic, political, military, and cultural influences spans across the world. Now, from this sentence, you can grasp the idea that you will be writing on the economic implications, political, military, and cultural influences. Now, if you are writing on any topic, for example, if we are writing on the Shanghai Cooperation Organization (SCO) or the G20, for example, we are writing on the United Nations, so we can write its economic implication, political, military, and cultural influences. So it covers a vast dimension of the relevant areas. In the past, Pakistan has been a major beneficiary of its military aid and also had to face sanctions which is not conforming to its policies. It referred to the 9/11 in its aftermath when Pakistan became a major non-NATO ally after joining the war on terror. And then also he faced sanctions before that, so it is also historical background, particularly referring to the 9/11. The United States has the most well-equipped and technologically superior military in the world. It can project its military power in the remotest corner of the world through its modern and large air force and navy. Its space program is also cutting edge. Its defense budget is one of the top, most surpassing that of several nations combined budget. I think it is $2.5 trillion. It is an old figure. Currently, I do not know the exact figure, but it must be around it. Economically, it has the highest GDP. It is almost $24 trillion, and United States dollar is the most powerful and widely used currency as well as world reserve currency. It is a fact. Okay. The prospect of the United States retaining its global dominance are now under serious challenge. It is because of the rise of China, the rise of East, because China is growing and it has been able to remove the poverty, and it is now the second largest economy. So it's so United States will retain its position as a global power or not. It is now under serious concerns. In the last 4 decades, China, okay, we have already told about that. Uh, China is a potential and a strategic rival to the United States because it can surpass the United States in terms of economy, particularly. China is already a superpower, except it is not rich. It is not rich. It refers to the per capita income because owing to the large population, it would time it would take time to for the Chinese people to rise their per capita income that is in area with the Western countries. Okay, however, the extensive spread of the cover in China has slowed its growth. Prospect of reviving the economy would depend on how successful China is in pursuit of eliminating COVID. Has a background or a case study from the COVID era. Okay, this article is published on I think January 2023 this year. It is just a background. The United States, taking a long-term view, seeing the rapid rise of China, is adopting several major strategic and economic to thwart and slow down its economy in concert with its NATO and other allies. So the United States is trying to sabotage the economic growth of China. So they are trying various measures like the Indo-Pacific strategy and then the Build Back World and recently and the G20 summit. They launched the India, Middle East, Europe Economic Corridor. So these are the strategies, AUKUS and Quad, etc. BRICS to AUKUS and Quad particularly, not BRICS that much because China is also included in it. But again, its expansion can be a potential threat to the rise of China. Okay, for example, United States Taiwan military cooperation is in essence is part of United States policy of containing China. Okay, so China claims that Taiwan is a part of its territory and its unification is indispensable. But still, the United States Taiwan alliance and their military cooperation it is sparking concerns in China. Okay, from Washington's perspective, it is also to ensure democratic countries are not subjected to coercion by authoritarian regime, and Taiwan exemplifies this concern. Yes, the United States claims that Taiwan is a democracy, and democratic countries they cannot be subjected to power or force by the authoritarian countries like China and Russia. Uh, Taiwan is a unique case for the most purpose of it operates an independent state, but China rightfully claims it to be a part of it. It has a historical background. The majority of countries endorse China's claim and have not recognized it. Yes, I think just 15 countries they recognize Taiwan as an independent state, and so most of the countries endorse the claim of China that its reunification is necessary, inevitable. Despite that, political wisdom demands that both China and the United States should allow Taiwan to retain its autonomy. Yes, reduce tension across the Taiwan Strait will lessen pressure on Chinese leadership to hasten unification because it is a major trade strait for the China. So that is why there are problems. Okay, China has been avoiding a military confrontation as it could trigger internal dissent and revolt within Taiwan as military majority are inclined to and prepare a democratic culture and freedom rather than being part of the communist and authoritarian regime. Yes, so most of the people of Taiwan they are inclined to be the democratic culture and a free state rather than to be the part of this communist and authoritarian China. So that is why China tries to avoid the military confrontation with the United States or its allies in that region, particularly, is because it has economic impact as well as political and internal dissent could be bring down, could be caused. Interestingly, there are few major contradictions in the China-Taiwan relations. Okay, whereas there are political differences of fundamental nature. Yes, political differences mean that the Taiwan it is a democratic country while the China is an authoritarian regime. But trade and commerce between the two countries has been flourishing for long for the benefit of people. A lesson India and Pakistan could have drawn for long. There are trade problems as well. As Taiwan, it is the largest chip producer in the world. TSMC, I think it is the company of Taiwan. It is producing the largest chip necessary ingredients for the smartphones and other devices. Taiwan was initially ruled by military juntas, then followed capitalism and liberal democracy and the rule of law preceding full-fledged democracy. Historical background again, experience of other countries that have graduated to mature democracy remind us that there are few two forces, prosperity and liberal democracy, that would produce a legitimate government. Here too, there are lessons for the half-baked democracies like ours, how to achieve a high level of political maturity and economic self-sustainability. Political maturity and economic self-sustainability means economic independence. They are a necessary prerequisite for a liberal and sustainable democracy. There has been close cooperation between the United States and Taiwan for over 70 years, starting from the time when Chiang Kai-shek was in power. It is 1949. It mostly in the last 10 years, Taiwan has taken a hostile posture toward China. Former President Trump gave a boost to the anti-China policy and encouraged Taiwan to take a hard line. Yes, it is. Uh, from the Trump era when Nancy Pelosi Recently, the House Speaker of the House of the United States visited the Taiwan, so then the hostile relations growth grown. The Indo-Pacific quadrilateral dialogue. Now, Indo-Pacific, it is a region in the Indian Ocean. I contain almost 40 countries, and Indo-Pacific, it is the most institutionalized effort by the United States to contain the growing influence of China in the region. A multilateral dialogue between Australia, India, Japan, and the United States, that is in the, I think in the AUKUS, and no, sorry, Quad is another grouping that aims at countering the growing influence of China. All these countries have a vested interest in aligning with the United States to oppose China's emergence as they feel that their strategic and economic interest will be compromised if China became the regional power, if not global at the time. So the economic interests of these countries can be compromised. Thereby, that is why they are joining the United States bloc and countering the influence of China. China is expected is taking countermeasures to protect its interest in the China-Russia cooperation strategic alliance is a key element of their strategy. Yes, it is because China and Russia they have ideological similarities and both are authoritarian countries. Last summer, they engaged in a joint exercise with 10,000 Russian and Chinese troops participating in the pattern of NATO exercise. Yes, it is clear that President Xi Jinping has opted for a more forceful national security policy, and the alliance with Russia has increased China's military and strategic weight that the United and allies have to counter in future because China and Russia, they first of all they are geographically closer to each other, and then uh, there is ideological proximity as well. So the alliance could pose a serious threat to the United States allies and its interests. Another important factor would be how Europe, especially Germany and France, position themselves in this rivalry. Russia's invasion of Ukraine and China's support to it did initially strain relations with Germany and France, but the German Chancellor visit to China did ease tension. Yes, it is because Russia is the largest supplier of energy, particularly the gas to the European countries and particularly to Germany. So the Germany and France and other European countries, they also do not want hostility with China and Russia. Moreover, having taken a strong business delegation with him was a clear indication that Germany would maintain strong economic relations with China. As reported in the press, Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni has shown his desire to deepen trade with China because China is an emerging economic power and people of the European countries they want to have a strong relation with China, particularly in terms of the economy. French President Emmanuel Macron is expected to visit China too. The economic interest of Europe also closely linked with China. Yes, it is. It is not surprising that Germany has been taking position at variance with the United States where its interests differ. China's export to Europe are critical for the Chinese economy and are nearly equal to that of the United States. Yes, it is, and this is also the impact of globalization because now the European countries, they are particularly the allies of United States, but where the interest compromise and they are taking sides with the China's bloc as well. European countries have shown their deep concern on the human rights policies being pursued in China, yes, in Xinjiang and Uyghur province. According to the United Nations report of August 2022, Chinese government has committed abuse that amount to crimes against humanity, targeting Uyghur and other Turkic communities, yes, in the Xinjiang region I already mentioned. Despite contradiction in the United-China relation, with economies so intertwined in Russia now solidly and the Chinese cap and Europe interested in expanding the economic ties with China, status quo is likely to prevail because despite the fact that the China and the United States they are rivals, but they are also each other's largest trading partners. So the intertwined economies and status quo will prevail because they could not deglobalize itself because of the globalization and its impact in terms of integration and economic intertwinedness. So the United States-China rivalry, this is the biggest problem in the world, and it's mainly because of the Taiwan, the Indo-Pacific strategy, and then the recent economic and military alliances like the AUKUS and the Quads. These are the efforts of the United States and its alliance to counter China. And on the other hand, in the response, the China is spreading its influence in the region particularly, and then across the world generally because of its various projects like the Build in Road initiative, which have 155 signatories, and its economic influence is also attracting the developing world and the European countries to be the part with China. So this trend would likely to continue.